Hi, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining. Today is the webinar, which is on big security in a small business world. That's with ourselves, Advatek, and Cisco. Just in terms of the agenda, I'm Richard Leigh, head of sales with Advatek. The next 10 minutes or so, I'll give you a very brief introduction into Advatek, who we are and what we do. Then I'll be handing over to Yoni and Joao Nunes from Cisco, both of whom are security specialists based in UK and Ireland. We'll be talking through some of the products and showing you some of the demos. And then hopefully leaving time for a quick Q&A at the end of the session with a view to closing before lunchtime. So without further ado then, for those of you who don't know Advatek, who are we and what do we do? So we're an infrastructure services company headquartered out of Wrexham. Been in operation for around about 13 or so years now in two different forms. However, we were founded on security, and as a consequence, security is at the heart of everything we do. It's within our core, and it's a real big play for everything that we're doing. Over the last 18 months, we've received over £1 million worth of investment through the Development Bank of Wales and HSBC. And as well as being, focused on security, what that has enabled us to do is to build out our managed service practice and invest in new people, new heads into the business, so to support our growth. Key to that is forming a relationship with Tech Data around Cisco, and we've been accepted and have been for about 10 months or so now onto what they call their ACES program, which is effectively a Cisco acceleration program, which gives us a lot of focus from them as a distributor, but it also gives us a voice back into Cisco and to support our growth with Cisco and the development of our Cisco practice. So I think one thing that you will see from what I'm about to share with you is that we're very experienced and considered a safe pair of hands. I use the phrase punching above our weight. We have a large number of customers who entrust us with their security operation, and that foundation on security means that your data protection is our primary concern. We've delivered a high number of quality security solutions to both public and private sectors. Spotted a little bit error there where I've mistyped the and, but yeah, I think what that means is that should you decide to partner with Advatek, you'll be in good company. And just to kind of reiterate that, some of the customers we work with in the commercial space, we can count FTSE 100 company there, FTSE 250 company in Persimmon and Redrow, but also clients who you consider top end of SME or mid-market, as well as referenceability across very different sectors within the public sector. So universities, colleges, schools, but also quite interestingly, we have the Welsh Ambulance Service and two fire services there who entrust their security operations and managed services to Advatek. So, it is something that we're very proud of as a relatively small business, that we can list these customers amongst our clients. So, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Joao from Cisco to present on the Cisco offerings in terms of the security space. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Thank you, Richard. Let me see if I'm able to share my screen. Hopefully it will be sharing correctly now.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So thank you everyone for attending this session. Thank you to Advatek and Don and Richard for having us in the Cisco cybersecurity webinar, Big Security in a Small Business World. My name is Joao. I'm a small business partner sales security specialist. I'm working based out of Lisbon and aligned with the UKI market, and it's a real pleasure to be here. And yeah, let's dive in. So starting off with an overview of the changes that we're currently seeing in today's workplace, we see nowadays that the COVID-19 pandemic is actually challenging us with having to come up with new ways of working and also communicating, especially since a lot of the employees and companies are actually being able to work from home. So we see this all across our customer base, large and small, and we also know that the motion towards the cloud and having those remote workforces is likely to be a long-term scenario, mostly because we see that companies and employees are both finding value in having a remote workforce. So this added value can be seen in things like increased productivity, lower real estate costs, and also the overall burden of change management. So obviously Cisco wants to help our customers, build for that new normal instead of just reacting to a particular moment. And this is one of the reasons why we see nowadays that work is actually becoming an activity and not just a place. So we just highlighted some of the pros of having a remote workforce. However, we know that there's always some room for challenges and concerns that business owners and leaders should always be prepared for. And first off, very importantly, pretty much now that we have our whole workforce off-site, it then becomes of the utmost importance to be able to verify that users are who they say they are at the moment of logging in. So we want to grant access to employees, we want them to access company applications and sensitive files, while at the same time we want to defend them against malware and all different kinds of other threats. Also, very importantly, we want workers to keep feeling connected when they're physically away from their peers and their teammates. I think we all pretty much know how important this can be. And finally, we also want all of these security tools that we may have set in place to be able to work together in a simple way and in a cost-effective way without having to break the bank to implement them. So while we're trying to figure out how to better support the motion towards working from home, we see that at the same time employees are just pretty much trying to go about their daily work routines. And this sometimes can mean that employees may not be fully aware of how their companies are being exposed to higher risk levels, or maybe how their company's critical data may be given access to any malicious actors. So this is why we feel that it is key to understand where some of these cybersecurity risks may be coming from. And so from an employee point of view, we see things like employees maybe sometimes are swapping between company managed devices, also between their own personal devices. And also they might not be fully aware of how important it is to keep web browsers and operating systems always up to date, which is really important and really key. And also we see more and more SaaS-based and non-sanctioned applications being used just to increase productivity. And also we're seeing a lot of VPNs being bypassed when end users are working from home or maybe working from a cafe. And if they are indeed working from a cafe, they're probably using consumer Wi-Fi. And again, without the awareness of how their behavior may be exposing their companies to higher risk levels. So as we're trying to figure out how to secure our remote workers, at the same time, pretty much employees are just trying to go about their daily work routines. This ultimately could be creating gaps in security, which is something that we actually are really trying to avoid. So for all kinds of businesses, from a cybersecurity perspective, there are a few very important key steps that we always like to mention and highlight that are pretty much going to help us increase our security levels. So first off, very importantly, we have to verify the user's identity so we can establish trust. So verify that the users are who they say they are at the moment of logging in. Next, we need to enable work on any kind of device, any kind of connection, but obviously doing this in a secure fashion. And also we want to grant employees access to companies' critical applications and critical data, as well as protecting employees from threats once they're actually on the network. Also, last but not least, we want all of these solutions to work together in a simple way, in a single integrated platform. And obviously here at Cisco, we have a set of integrated solutions that can address these challenges. And all of these solutions sit on top of what we call the Cisco SecureX platform. So SecureX is a cloud management platform, that enables us to integrate our security infrastructure in one place, thus adding visibility and providing with a unified view of our security infrastructure, our security environment, and also allowing for the automation and orchestration side of things, pretty much setting us in the road to achieving greater efficiency. So we built SecureX with simplicity in mind, just pretty much to address and help eliminate the complexity of having multiple management security consoles. And this is something that we actually saw across the entire security vendor space. So one of our main goals here at Cisco is to be able to secure users wherever they might need to work from, regardless of the kind of device they may be using. And so we can do this using the set of Cisco solutions that we see in this slide here. Starting off with Duo, we pretty much can help secure employees through our MFA solution, our multi-factor authentication solution with Duo, also with our VPN solution that we have within Cisco AnyConnect, and also highlighting here our cloud edge security solution that we have with our Cisco Umbrella platform, as well as our endpoint security solution that we have with Cisco Secure Endpoint, which probably you already know. It was previously known as AMP for endpoints. Also, very importantly, our web collaboration tools that we have within WebEx, just further supporting our workers and employees when they're away from the branch or the headquarters, just keeping those connections to their peers and teammates. Also highlighting here that all of these solutions and offerings are backed by a world leader in technology like Cisco. So we're going to take a look at each one of these 4 solutions, starting off with Cisco Duo. Duo is the world's easiest to use and most secure MFA. And not only that, but Duo is also incredibly easy to deploy across all kinds of applications, whether they may be hosted on cloud or on premise. And pretty much with Duo set in place, you can verify users' identities, gain visibility into their devices, and also enforce adaptive policies in order to secure access to all applications. So from an end user experience point of view, Duo features that one-tap authentication, which has now really become the status quo in the MFA and the zero trust space. And this authentication pretty much then just gives you visibility into what devices employees may be using, so whether they're managed or unmanaged. And then based on this context, you can either grant or block access to company files and applications. So we have many options available for our authentication for MFA. The easiest one, that's really simple push notification on the phone, but we can also authenticate using a different number of ways. So things like software tokens, hardware tokens, phone calls, SMS. So there are a lot of options that we can use to make sure that we have our MFA set in place. So pretty much we know that MFA is something that we use daily, probably the first thing that we do when we start our daily work routines. And this is why Duo was designed to be as easy and as seamless as possible to use. So pretty much so that employees can benefit from having that great end user experience at the moment of logging in. So not only does Duo offer a top of breed MFA solution, but also Duo enables companies and end users towards a zero trust approach. So having a zero trust approach just takes security beyond just beyond the MFA side alone of things. So pretty much enabling us to secure access to everything across the entire IT environment. So this allows us to prevent data breaches before they happen. You can gain visibility into who and what devices are actually accessing applications, workloads, and networks, and also enable policy-based controls according to each company's own individual needs. So Duo moves our workforces towards the zero trust space by verifying identity, device health, before allowing users to connect to the applications that they may need to use. Also pivoting into our VPN solution that we have with Cisco AnyConnect. So first off, with AnyConnect, we can pretty much give remote access to workers anywhere. So it's pretty much a secure access to the enterprise network from any device at any time in any location. And then next off, you can get more insight into user and endpoint behavior with full visibility across the network. And lastly, you can get comprehensive protection from continuous endpoint posture checks. This just pretty much means that AnyConnect is validating the health of the device, that you've granted access to, so that users are defended against threats wherever they may go. So Cisco AnyConnect was built on foundational VPN technology, and this is why Cisco AnyConnect extends its value proposition beyond the remote access side of things alone. So sitting on endpoint computer devices, AnyConnect can enable security in the network fabric, so behind the firewall, but can also provide security and corporate policy enablement when users are mobile, so also outside of the corporate firewall. Highlighting here very importantly the high level of reliability that AnyConnect can bring to the table within its basic and advanced VPN services, and highlighting here as well that AnyConnect's additional security layers are there, so things like end-to-end data encryption or user or group-based identity, which pretty much allows organized access to specific web applications. So AnyConnect also integrates with several of Cisco's top-of-breed security solutions. So this can include Cisco Secure Endpoint, pretty much delivering that continuous threat monitoring and malware prevention across the endpoints, and also AnyConnect also integrates with ICE, our Identity Services Engine, in order to deliver that top-of-the-line compliance and authentication solutions, just to name a couple of AnyConnect integrations. But really the key idea behind AnyConnect is that AnyConnect does a great job at keeping customers covered with pretty much that proactive protection, even without getting it. Umbrella is one of the, if not the core product within Cisco's security stack. And at the end of this slide, I'm going to pass the ball over to Yoni, who's going to briefly demo Umbrella, just to bring it more to life. But before I pass the ball over to Yoni, I'm going to highlight that pretty much here at Cisco, we like to call Umbrella our first line of defense against threats and malware, mostly because it works at the DNS layer and prevents connections to malicious or likely malicious websites from actually taking place. So with Umbrella, customers can stop malware infections earlier. Customers can identify pretty much already infected devices faster, and also prevent data exfiltration from taking place. So one of our key functionalities within the Umbrella platform is our secure internet gateway. And so within this really amazing functionality, Umbrella can provide end users and companies with three very important aspects. So increased visibility, increased protection, and increased control. So increased visibility into the internet and web traffic, whether users may be on or off the corporate network, and we can do this across all ports and protocols. Also, we can provide with increased protection from external threats. And so to do this, we leverage threat intelligence from Cisco Talos, as well as the Umbrella Global Network. And then Umbrella can also provide an increased level of control of what content users can actually access by setting companies' policies and compliance mandates in place. So I'm going to pass over the ball to Yoni, who's going to show us a brief demo of Umbrella. So thank you, Yoni. Passing the ball over to you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Joao. Hopefully you can see my screen okay.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yep, perfect.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so what I'm showing you now is the primary Umbrella dashboard. So this is where you can create your policies, forward your DNS traffic directly to the Umbrella resolvers. Very, very simple to get up and running, and I'll explain exactly how you can do that in just a moment. But firstly and foremost, as soon as you log in, you'll be able to see just some of the things that Umbrella is already protecting you against, such as malware, botnets, crypto mining, and this is just in the last 24 hours on my demo screen. You'll also see the health status. So where have you deployed the solution to? How many clients have you got rolled out? How many networks are you looking at traffic on and protecting? And if I scroll down the screen, you'll also see a lot more information, and at the end of the day, visibility is absolutely fundamental. If you don't know what's going on the network or off the network, more importantly these days, how can you protect your users and your devices and obviously network infrastructure? So here you're seeing a number of categories that the umbrella is protecting against, such as malware, phishing, command and control, crypto mining. And again, this is just in the last 24 hours. You can also, filter this based on the last 30 days or last 7 days. It's completely up to you. In addition to that, utilizing the CASB controls that are now built into the solution, you're now also able to see, I don't know what happened there, sorry. You're now also able to see the type of cloud services and applications that end users and devices are connecting to, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And again, that's also extremely important to understand exactly what is going on. We also break traffic down based on identities. So that could be a user, it could be a machine or endpoint, or it could be a network. So here's just a couple of examples. We've got a lot of desktop machines here. We've got users, we've got networks, Wi-Fi estates, that kind of stuff. And we've also got destination. Now, what does a destination mean? Well, that could be anywhere a user or a device is connecting to. That could be a domain name, a URL, or even an IP address. And you see a large selection of the most active or top requested destinations that users are being directed to even, all of which I've never even heard of. But again, this gives you a good taster of what's actually going on the network. Okay. Now, how do you actually get set up? Again, very, very easy. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but just so you get a rough idea, what you would basically do is create a network name. So just say it's Yoni's network. Hopefully I can spell okay. And then either on your DHCP server, DNS server, access point, or router, you are basically changing the default IP address and redirecting it to these two IP addresses, which make up our global network. Okay, so you put in your IP address in here, select the subnet, and that's it, job done. So very, very quick process. Now, obviously, if you want to protect your remote users, your laptop users who are working away out the office, you can create or install or deploy what we call a roaming client agent, which sits alongside any VPN on the network. So if a user forgets to connect to their VPN, or it's not working, or just simply forgets, we have a remote agent which will work whether the user is offline, not connected to the network whatsoever, connecting to the internet in an internet cafe, airport, train station, or wherever it might be. You could simply download this remote agent, whether it's a Windows or Mac. Or in addition to that, we also have a module that sits alongside the Cisco AnyConnect VPN as well, where Umbrella is built in for additional simplicity. So there's a lot of things that you can do here, but what I will do very quickly is just show you an example of just some of the reports that we can generate, so you can see what's actually taking place here. So you could enter in a domain name or a username or a URL or whatever you want really, and it will then filter that data and tell you exactly what's happening with that user or with that device. And we can filter this based on all traffic, block traffic, proxy traffic, different event types, different identities. So again, here's a snapshot of what you're seeing there. Or perhaps particular security categories. So probably the number one will be malware or phishing, that kind of stuff. Apply that. And again, you can then filter down the type of information that we're seeing. You can then export this, generate it as a report, view not just all requests, but DNS requests, URL, IP, firewall logs, you name it, a broad subset of information. What I can then do is click on one of these blocked requests or blocked destinations, and it'll tell me a lot more information about it. So we can see just in the last 24 hours, 153 requests have gone to this domain, illegalness.co, which sounds interesting. We can then define or determine whether these requests are directed at my particular organization, or whether traffic going to that domain is more widespread. So you can therefore see and work out whether your organization is a targeted threat or not. And again, there's lots more information to tell you here, but this is just a simple snapshot just to highlight just some of the capabilities that the solution has to offer. So what I'm going to do now is hand back to Joao. Joao, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can reshare my screen. Hopefully it will be sharing correctly.
Yep.
Perfect. So, thank you, Yoni, for that amazing demo of Umbrella. So pretty much we already know that Umbrella Connect has our first line of defense. But when a breach does occur, we actually need to, when this occurs and we actually need to remediate an endpoint, that's pretty much where when Cisco Secure Endpoint can come into play. So Cisco Secure Endpoint is a cloud-managed next-generation endpoint security solution that can basically prevent cyber attacks and rapidly detect, contain, and remediate malicious files if they're actually able to evade defenses and actually infiltrate an endpoint. So Umbrella and Secure Endpoint, they work at different and yet complementary layers. So Umbrella can prevent connections to malicious destinations and command and control callbacks and works at DNS and IP layers, while Cisco Secure Endpoint works at the file level and prevents the initial malware execution and is also able to track file behavior over time. So one of the key capabilities of Cisco Secure Endpoint is having a very powerful endpoint detection and response capabilities, EDR. And pretty much with EDR, we can investigate the entire life cycle of a threat. So providing insights into what happened, how the threat got in, where it's been, what it's doing now, how we can stop it. And really highlighting here that by containing the threat at the endpoint, pretty much EDR helps to eliminate the threat, as well as preventing it from spreading across the network. So all of this is backed by Cisco Talos, which is the largest non-governmental threat intelligence organization on the planet. They pretty much continuously monitor the internet across the entire Cisco installed base, searching for any malware, any threats, and then they're able to turn this collected information into actionable intel. So having this level of visibility is really a key advantage since it is available across Cisco's entire security portfolio. And obviously highlighting here that if we see more, we are actually able to block more. Having this level of visibility that Cisco Talos brings to the table is a really key advantage in keeping companies and end users safe from all kinds of different threats. So before I also pass the ball over to Yoni, who's going to demo and highlight some of the things that we've seen today, I'd just like to briefly summarize some of the challenges that remote workers face nowadays and how Cisco security solutions can help address these challenges and also keep employees safe. So first off, very importantly, and I know that we already mentioned this, but just really to highlight, we want to verify user and device identity, and we can do this with Duo, so this is very important. Next off, with Cisco AnyConnect, pretty much want to enable access to the network and company applications, and also highlighting here Cisco's first and last lines of defense that we just talked about, so with Umbrella Platform and Cisco Secure Endpoint. Also highlighting here our collaboration platform, WebEx Cloud, that can pretty much keep remote workers feeling connected and productive, just even if they may be away from the office, and obviously being able to do this in a secure fashion is pretty much key here. So passing the ball over to Yoni, who's going to demo and highlight some of the things that we've seen so far. So over to you, Yoni. Let me stop sharing my screen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is actually just demonstrate just some of the capabilities that basically bring everything together. So exactly what Joao has been explaining across the different solution sets. I'm going to show you how they all work together seamlessly. So first and foremost, let's recap on Duo, our 2FA or MFA solution and device verification tool. Now, the first thing that most of our customers tend to do is obviously verify who their users are before they come into the network, before they connect to any of their applications or services. And I'd say 95% of our customers do this, leveraging the Duo push capability. So let me demonstrate this very quickly now. In this instance, I want to access my Outlook. I mean, what would we do without email? Whether we love it or hate it, we still need to do this. But before I can access my email, I need to authenticate. So first of all, I'm going to do that with my email address and password. And then we're going to authenticate using one of these options. Now, the most common way to do that is the push notification. There are other ways as well. You can get a call, you can put in a passcode or PIN code. You can use fingerprinting if you want, but this is probably the most common way, and I'd say the easiest in a sense. So on my mobile device, I'm going to receive a notification. I click on that, and I can see where I'm coming in from, my IP address, the time and date, etc. And if it's me, obviously I'm going to approve this request and authenticate, and I now have access to my email in all its glory. So that is the primary method of secondary authentication with Duo. Very, very simple, very easy. What I'm also going to do is show you how we can access our VPN solution, right? So again, utilizing this same web page, and if any of you are watching this, you can go to demo.duo.com, and there are 11 different walkthrough demonstrations for you to play around with. Again, nice and simple and straightforward. But in this case, I'm going to connect to my VPN solution. Now, it doesn't just have to be Cisco. This integrates with all VPN vendors on the market. But in this case, what I'm going to do, as you can see, there's my VPN client there. I'm going to click on that. Connect. Obviously, I have to put in my username and password, but as a second layer of authentication and added layer of security, we still want to verify who we are before we connect to the actual network. So in this case, I'm going to select the login request notification, or push notification as we call it. This is me. I'm in this location. It's this time on this date, and I'm going to approve the request. And once I've done that, I've now got access to my intranet site. So again, nice and easy and straightforward, and anyone can do this. So can you see? There we go. Hopefully you can see that okay. So one of the first things that Cisco did when Duo was first acquired about 2.5 years ago now was build seamless integration with our own AnyConnect VPN. And now all Cisco employees, and there's about 70,000 of us dotted around the world, so we're using this as our primary method to authenticate and access our network remotely. And the same can be said, as I mentioned before, with any other VPN vendor, whilst also providing an additional layer of security for your remote access strategy. But it doesn't just have to be for remote access. You know, when we all start coming back into the office, this should also be important as well. And once integration has been completed, either with your Cisco ASA VPN, Duo's two-factor authentication will always verify the identity of your users and check the security health of their devices as well before accessing any application. And what I'm also going to do is explain that with AnyConnect specifically, it has a whole suite of modules for deploying security features, what we call enablers. So when a user has a VPN into the network or has to VPN into the network, the Secure Endpoint module checks to see if that machine has the Secure Endpoint installed, or AMP, which it used to be called. If not, it will force the installation. In addition to that, what AnyConnect will also do is enable the distribution of the Secure Endpoint to remote users to help and detect and stop advanced threats. And these capabilities are really to help IT streamline security operations for a whole range of users, whether it's employees or partners or contractors or temporary staff, as well as the endpoints. Now, to amplify protection even further, why not incorporate our Secure Endpoint solution, also known as AMP, into the mix, where you can configure a Secure Endpoint policy within Duo directly to instantly block risky devices. And I'll explain how this works in a moment. Now, the idea behind it is really to prevent a compromised endpoint from getting access to any applications. And all of this is protected by Duo. So what will typically happen, a user can then gain access from another healthy endpoint that meets Duo policy. Control is also enforced by Duo policy, so the scope can be on a global basis or per application basis or even per user group. And once the threat has been remediated, the endpoint automatically gains access. So let me show you how this works in practice. So again, I'm going to go back to this demo page, which each and every one of you can go to and play around with it at your own leisure. Okay, so here we've got our integration with Cisco AMP for endpoints, or Secure Endpoints as it's now called. And I'll show you how this works. So again, I need to access Office 365, which majority of organizations need to do these days. So again, I'm going to enter my password and sign in. But what's actually saying to me before I can access the application, it's saying, sorry, you're not allowed, access has been denied because your device has been blocked from accessing the application. So what's the next thing that's going to happen? Well, that end user is then going to contact the IT help desk and they're going to find out what they can do to help. So now I'm the IT administrator. I'm going to log into the Duo dashboard and see what is going on. So here we've been alerted, or there's a report here. And in this case, we can see that this particular user has been denied from accessing Microsoft Azure on this date and time on this particular endpoint device. Now let's take a look to find out what's actually happened here. Again, we can see that the device has been blocked by AMP for endpoint or Secure Endpoint. We can see the firewall, the encryption, everything was all turned on. It's all great. What we're then going to do is access our AMP for endpoint dashboard to take a closer look. So here we can see we've got an alert or something in our inbox that needs attention. So let's take a look at this. And here we can see there's been significant compromise that's taken place. There is some malware on that end user's device in question. Again, you can see all the information related to that, so you can investigate further if you need to. Now, obviously, everything that I'm doing here can be done completely automatically. Okay, so what I'm going to do is click on that device or that alert, resolve it. We know that device has been quarantined, that malware has gone away now. And then we're going to tell the end user, please, can you re-authenticate? You should now have access. So the end user is then going to re-authenticate, put in his password or her password. I'm going to send that person a push notification. I accept, it's been approved. I'm now able to access Office 365 in all its glory. So again, a nice, simple process that brings together our multi-factor authentication and endpoint security tooling together in one solution. Now, so as you can see, these solutions that I've discussed and Joao's been talking about work together very, very seamlessly. And as you can see on this slide, where we're showing you each of the 4 solutions in action. starting with MFA with Duo on the phone there, moving to the VPN access with AnyConnect, like so. And those are the first and last lines of defense from Umbrella and Secure Endpoint as well. Okay, so even if I'm on the network and I'm connecting to the internet, I've got that protection too. Now, towards the end of this year, 2021, Cisco will be launching a single unified client that truly brings together both the VPN solution, the multi-factor authentication with Duo, Secure Endpoint, and Umbrella together as one. So you won't need different endpoints or different clients. It'll all be one single client, which we're all very, very excited about for obvious reasons. Now, I think it's also very important to finish up on the broader security platform that Cisco launched almost a year ago now, known as SecureX, which again is bringing together the entire security architecture that we've either been developing or you know, buying up or acquiring lots of different security tools, again, into one single platform, again, to make our customers' lives and our partners' lives much, much easier to consume all of this data and get that valuable visibility and provide that enforcement and remediation to detect any threats that come onto the network. Okay, so it's all built around what we call SecureX, and this is really intended to work with what our customers already have, to give you more control over all of your security efforts and tasks and applications. It's very user-friendly, and security it can be quite a challenge. Certainly when you think about what you're doing on the network, what you're doing on the endpoint, migrating to cloud, and all the different applications that you're using. It can be quite difficult to manage all of these different logs and events and try and determine what's really going on. So that's really the fundamental reason why we introduced SecureX. So it's really intended to connect all of your security infrastructure and enable all of your different teams, whether it's security operations, IT operations, or even network operators, to work together and to collaborate more effectively. And SecureX really is built to transform the infrastructure from a series of disjointed solutions into a fully integrated ecosystem, because it's building out the capabilities across our own portfolio, but also enabling our customers to connect their third-party tools as well into this solution. So it's not just about Cisco security, it's bringing together all of the disparate security solutions and vendors that our customers have been deploying for many, many, many years. And this is really designed to enable intelligence sharing and coordinated threat response, so we can therefore prevent the bad guys from doing what they want to do, and preventing those threats from bypassing our overwhelmed security teams. Now, we know that our customers are using a variety of different vendors besides Cisco, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine with us. So what we've done is prioritize SecureX to be integrated and open. So it's all cloud native and all API focused as well, to work with every tool, Cisco or otherwise. So for example, if you rely on Microsoft to store identity, or Splunk to store data, or ServiceNow for IT servicing management or IT ticketing, or even our direct security competitors, that's great. Connect them all into SecureX with the APIs. So as I mentioned before, this is all cloud native, so it can simply provide a better overall experience for IT operations and net ops, in addition to security operations too. And it isn't just another technology layer. In a sense, it's maximizing the potential of all of your security investments and solutions that you've deployed over the years. You can start small with a single product or grow as you need it. It really depends on what you're trying to do. As I said, it's integrated and open for simplicity. That is really the number that, the key thing here. So you've got one single pane of glass and visibility point of view, both for your network, your endpoints, your cloud services, and your applications. And again, the main thing to take away here is that it's designed to reduce the time to detection, not if, but when something happens on the network that you didn't know about, and reduce the amount of effort and time required for a user to try and work out and establish what's actually happened after the event. Give your users time back. So you've got time to detection reduction, you've got enforcement, and you've got remediation, as well as all of that amazing threat intelligence that our customers need. So again, simplicity, visibility, and efficiency, those are the core pillars behind all of this. This is complementary with any Cisco security solution that you have invested in the past or will do in the future. So whether it's networking, whether it's endpoint security, cloud security, this is something that you can enable without requiring a license for it. Okay. Now you're probably thinking, well, is this just another dashboard my team needs to adopt? Well, it is another dashboard, but it means that you won't have to look at all of your other dashboards that you have as well, right? So let's think of it this way. When an incident happens, who's going to do all the work, right? Where do you have to go to identify and understand what's going on, right? Who do you have to speak to? Who has the knowledge? Who has the expertise to work out and do all that troubleshooting? So SecureX is really designed to remove all of those bottlenecks that slow your teams down and give them the answers and the actions to the data, to what's actually going on. And also giving them the ability to share context around incidents by navigating, or without having to navigate between lots of different consoles and dashboards and products and logs and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And also to accelerate threat response, ideally. This is something that we have been developing for a number of years, and it's still maturing, it's still getting better, it's still being developed as we grow our APIs to work with third-party solutions. So one of the biggest benefits of SecureX is visibility, as I keep on mentioning, but it's so important. And as you can see from the dashboard, all of your security technologies, again, what you're seeing mainly here are security solutions from Cisco, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can integrate with lots of third-party solutions, some of which you'll see on the left-hand side. So we have our own marketplace where you can integrate with third-party tools. And again, no need to switch between lots of different interfaces. So on the left-hand side, you have all of your Cisco security applications. At the bottom, you can request free trials if you want, without having to ask anyone or go to another website. You can just do it directly from here. And at the bottom, you've got the single view into the entire security environment, with all of that really meaningful data in one place. So you can make those informed decisions across the network, the endpoint, the cloud, and your applications. No more checking between different products to try and correlate different alerts and intelligence to understand the next steps. And from this unique or unified view, you can also launch into the appropriate actions that best suits your individual role. Okay, so you may manage the firewalls, or you may manage the endpoints, or you may manage email. So this can be tailored, so you can configure each and every one of these widgets and what data you see depending on what role you have. So you don't just have to log into it and this is your default view and you can't change it. You can definitely do all of that. So things like incident response, as I mentioned before, for threat hunting and investigations and remediation. So this scenario in particular enables you to easily find events that are prioritized in the activity feed to investigate incidents and suspicious activity. So when an alert appears, you'll automatically be notified about it. And then based on a specific, workflow, which you can build out. So at the top of the screen, you've got orchestration. So you can build out specific workflows based on what you want to happen. And this can all be automated as much or as little as you want. So when an incident occurs, a case can be assigned, and then that will be directed to a particular user or individual within your organization. If you're using a collaboration tool like WebEx or Teams or something like that, again, that will automatically be notified based on what you're using, rather than just emails. And again, an extension of all of this is what we call threat response. So if you're using one of the Cisco security solutions already, this is something that can be enabled. You don't need an extra license for it, just needs to be turned on. And this is where the incident responders can have, well, fun, if you will, but more importantly, will save them time to determine what's actually happened, where the threat came from, who it's impacted, and how it can be resolved. And this would be something that your security operations teams would be looking into. Okay, so this is where they can make discoveries, respond by remediating and isolating those threats. Okay, so here you've got a targeted endpoint. You can see it's connected to a number of IP addresses, this particular domain. It's resolved to a suspicious domain called link.defend RAV. But in addition to that, you've also got some malware where this has originated from. So you can really see the true picture of what's happened and what's actually going on. And again, you can either remediate it manually or automatically. It's completely up to you. Now, when things don't work together, often we find skilled people and solid processes have to fill the gaps. So how can you make your security more efficient for your teams? So following a convoluted or manual or sometimes outdated workflow, that will often expose organizations to the risk of threats and human error, unfortunately. So are there APIs that perhaps have been broken with automated scripts? Or does your team need to constantly maintain the bridges between different products that you have because they don't necessarily work together that effectively? So what's the fix? Well, essentially integrating these products with machines doing more work. So routines, orchestrations, building out workflows, and this will inevitably release the pressure from security teams to help retain, the top people at the end of the day. So here we've got automated critical security workflows. Here's just an example of some of them. So here we've got users from SecOps, NetOps, ITOps, so they can increase their own productivity. There's lots of different out-the-box workflows that can be configured. Here's a really, really interesting one, which was very useful when the pandemic first started, just over a year ago. We found that many customers had to increase the performance on their Office 365 environments, certainly to help with secure remote working and to simplify the NetOps workflow. So here in this case, we automated the configuration of the domain exclusion lists on their firewall devices periodically. And this, the essence of this particular use case was to provide a simple method for our customers to mitigate the risk of VPN infrastructure saturation, basically. So their Office 365 wouldn't go down and there wouldn't be any performance degradation. So that's what this was all about. But again, there's numerous other playbooks and workflows that can be created to assist here. Here are some other ones as well, depending on who the users are or the different teams in question, to identify threats and incidents and how we can discover what all of those different indicators of compromise are and how we can remediate and enforce those threats more easily. So finally, as I said, there is a marketplace where you can integrate SecureX with your third-party security tools. This is just a snapshot. And again, this is something that is being updated every single month as this product becomes more mature. This was released in July last year, but hopefully this gives you an idea of just some of the things that you can do, not only with our secure remote working solutions that we discussed earlier, but how you can bring your entire security infrastructure under one roof. Okay. Again, one final example, this is looking at enriching your SOC teams with SIEM solutions and SIEM alerts, or SIM alerts, if you want to call it that, and how you can prioritize all of these alerts into SecureX for better collaboration. Now, if any of you are using a security tool from Cisco currently, you can register for an account and log into your own dashboard and start utilizing it. You can go to security.cisco.com. If you're an existing security customer, you can leverage the existing accounts that you have. If you're new, you can create a new account from here. Okay, as I've highlighted. So I guess that's really it. Other than the fact that we have industry-leading threat intelligence, we've got close to 300 threat intelligence researchers with our Talos security research team, which is the largest non-governmental research team outside of the GCHQ and the NSA in the US, to basically chase the bad guys. Every single day, we are blocking 20 billion threats, looking at a third of the world's email traffic, looking at 300 billion DNS requests every single day, and also analyzing probably well in excess of 1.5 million unique malware samples to try and determine what these bad actors, criminals are doing to stay one step ahead. All of this intelligence is freely available to each and every one of our customers. Now, last but not least, in terms of next steps, so there's always some takeaways here, and hopefully you've enjoyed the session. You can request a free trial of any of the solutions that we've discussed today. You can just click on the link. I'm sure the recording and a copy of this presentation will be sent across to you after today's call, but feel free to download a free trial of any of those solutions. There are also a number of offers available regarding our secure remote working, and a whole host of resources, data sheets, videos, and training material that you can look at your leisure. So I'm going to stop there and pause for any questions that you might have. So thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, thanks, Yoni. So just in terms of the Q&A, well, just to round up actually. So I think from my perspective, obviously we've detailed this presentation as big security in a small business world, and what I don't want people to think is this is just security products that are tailored specifically for small business. They do encompass, a wide range of customer base in terms of both enterprise and small business. But one of the things we've been asked to chat is just in terms of how things are licensed. And one of the reasons why it does scale across both enterprise and small business is down to the fact that these are predominantly subscription-based models. They are licensed in slightly different ways. For example, Umbrella is licensed by the number of users with internet access, and Duo is based on enrolled users and things like that. But all of this, all of the discussions, I think, around licensing, we could pick up offline on the basis that we've used the full allocation of our hour. I think one of the questions that also in the Q&A was, can you trial products? So thank you for preempting that one, Yoni, and making people aware that there are trials available. So at this point, I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance. I'd like to reiterate that if you do want to reach out to us for whatever reason, my details are on screen there, and we'd love to have conversations with you. So I wish you well for the rest of your day, and thank you for your attendance.